Hello everybody, nice to meet you again. My name is Slim Al-Omari. I'm here for another grammar lesson that deals this time with passive voice. Of course you are familiar with passive voice in the previous years of study of English, but today we are hopefully going to shed light on the passive voice structure on different tenses, right? So let's get started. Passive voice is used when the focus is on the action. It's not important or not known, however, who or what is doing the action. Okay? So we use the passive voice mainly to focus, to emphasize on the action being done, not on the doer of the action. Right? Note, you can use the passive voice effectively in three main cases. Let's see these cases where you can use the passive voice, because most of the students wonder why should we use passive voice, or when should we use passive voice. So the first case where you use passive voice effectively is when the actor is unknown or unimportant. I mean, when the subject, the doer of the action, is unknown or unimportant. For example, stereotypes are believed to prevail rapidly. Okay? The actor here is not known, okay, or is not important. The second situation, or the second case where we use passive voice effectively, is when we want to draw attention to the person, place, or thing being acted upon. Right? Not the actor, but the thing or the person or the place, etc., that is being acted upon, which is, in other way, the object. For example, John Kennedy and Martin Luther King were assassinated in the same decade. All right? It's not important, however, who killed or assassinated both of these men, but the most important event is their being assassinated. Now, the third case where you should use passive voice effectively should be writings which describe procedures and measures, as in scientific writing jargon. For example, experiments are made on animals to be cloned. Experiments are made on animals to be cloned. Here, the most important thing is the experiments that are being made on animals. It's not really who makes these experiments. Okay? Of course, the passive voice can be slightly used in different other cases, but let's see and concentrate on the changes that occur in these two sentences. We will keep the same sentences for the structure sake, conjugated in different tenses. Present simple. A voice stands for active voice. Okay? I close the door. P voice stands for passive voice. Okay? From now onwards, A voice, active voice, P voice, passive voice. So I close the door, passive voice, the door is closed. The door is closed. Another example, I don't write emails. I don't write emails. This is a negative sentence. Passive voice, emails are not written. Emails are not written. Okay? Simple past. In simple past, the active voice, we can say I closed the door. Alright? So the passive voice of this sentence would be the door was closed. The door was closed. So the auxiliary be is conjugated in the same tense of the verb in the active voice, which is simple past in here, plus past participle of the main verb in the active voice. Active voice, I didn't write emails. Passive of this sentence, emails weren't written. Emails weren't written. Now, present progressive, which is named otherwise present continuous for those who know the other name. Active voice, I am closing the door. I am closing the door. Passive voice, the door is being closed. The door is being closed. The other set of example is I am not writing emails. This is negative sentence. I am not writing emails. Notice the not of negative. Emails are not being written. Emails are not being written. So in progressive tenses, notice being is repeated. Okay, it is an essential, absolutely indispensable ingredient in the passive voice form of the active sentence. Past progressive, same way, dealt with systematically, like active voice, I was closing the door. Passive voice, can you guess the sentence? The door was being closed. The door was being closed. So progressive tenses, whether past or present, being plus past participle of the main verb in the active sentence are essential. Only the auxiliary be should be conjugated either in past or in present, depending on the active sentence tense. Active voice, I wasn't writing emails. Passive, emails weren't being written. Okay, so being written again. Present perfect, which is maybe one of the most troublesome tenses in English. I have closed the door. Passive, the door has been closed. Some of the students may wonder why here in the active voice we have closed, and in the passive voice we have has been closed, has not have, because the agent simply is the door that can be replaced with the personal pronoun it. So it has, not it have been closed. The door has been closed. Another sentence, I haven't written emails. I haven't written emails. Passive voice, emails haven't been written. Emails haven't been written. Simple future, of course, future is done with I will close the door. I will close the door. We keep the will, the door will be closed. The door will be closed. So will be is invariable, so will be plus past participle will be closed. Another sentence, I will not write emails. Emails, your guess is, will not be written. Emails will not be written. Now let's see exercise 1. Which passive forms relate to which active forms? I'll give you a set of passive, like active will not write, okay, like was closing, will close, were not writing, close, have closed, and closed. So these are this is a set of active structure, and the passive is will be closed, will not be written, was being closed, were not being written, have been closed, was closed, and is closed. And take a look at them, think them over, and see which one matches with which. Okay? Now, let's go for correction. Right, so here are the sentences. Let's start with one by one. Let's go will not write. Which one you think it matches with? Which passive form? Will not write is the active form of the passive will not be written. Will not be written. Was closing. What do you think? Was closing? Was being closed. Was being closed. So passive, as I said before, it's a progressive tense, so being is an essential particle or ingredient. Will close would be will be closed. Will close, will be closed. I will close the door. You still remember? The door will be closed. We're not writing. Apparently, we're not being written. We're not being written. And close matches with is closed. Of course, have closed should be have been closed, and closed apparently was closed. Maybe in other contexts it can be were closed if the agent or is plural. Right. Exercise 2. Rewrite these sentences beginning with the words given. Okay. Now here, just bear it in mind, we will keep the same type of exercises for the sake of concentrating on the tenses. 1. John sells cars there. John sells cars there. Passive. You should write this sentence beginning with the word given, as I said in the rubric. Okay? Cars, whatever. 2. We don't make Ford cars in Morocco. We don't make Ford cars in Morocco. So passive form should look like Ford cars and complete the sentence. Third sentence, advanced learners understand the passive voice. Advanced learners understand the passive voice. So the passive form should look like the passive voice, whatever. Okay? Right. So let's correct this exercise. John sells cars there. What did we say? Cars are sold there. Cars are sold there. Second sentence, we don't make Ford cars in Morocco. So Ford cars aren't made in Morocco. Ford cars aren't made in Morocco. Third sentence, advanced learners understand the passive voice. Of course, these learners can still teach passive voice, not just understand it. The passive voice is understood by advanced learners, which is in some situations or some cases optional, like the agent by advanced learners can be optional, but still in some other cases it's written straight, like without even parentheses. Exercise 3. Rewrite these sentences beginning with the words given. Same rubric. Number 1. The Almoravids founded Marrakesh. The Almoravids founded Marrakesh. It's a Moroccan dynasty. Marrakesh, and you finish the sentence in passive, of course. Number 2. Shakespeare wrote eloquent sonnets. Shakespeare wrote eloquent sonnets. Sonnets is, you know, poetry, okay? Eloquent sonnets, okay? Number 3. Newton discovered gravity law. Newton discovered gravity law. The gravity law, all right? Now take a look at them for a few minutes, for a few seconds. Think them over. Shall we get started again for correction? Right. Now let's move. 1. The Almoravids founded Marrakesh. We said Marrakesh. Which tense is here? It's simple past, all right? So Marrakesh was founded by the Almoravids. Marrakesh was founded by the Almoravids. Second sentence, Shakespeare wrote eloquent sonnets. We said eloquent sonnets. Eloquent sonnets were written by Shakespeare. Eloquent sonnets were written by Shakespeare. Newton discovered the gravity law. Isaac Newton discovered gravity law. So the gravity law was discovered by Newton. The gravity law was discovered by Newton. Fourth exercise, rewrite these sentences as indicated, or beginning with the words given. Susan is doing her exercises. So this is progressive, right? Present progressive. The exercises, remember what we said before? Number 2, she isn't cooking dinner. Passive form, dinner. Number 3, he is reading an exciting novel. Number 3, the exciting novel. All right. So Susan is doing her exercises. She isn't cooking dinner. He is reading an exciting novel. Let's correct. Susan is doing her exercises. So we start the passive form with exercises are being done by Susan. The exercises are being done by Susan. Second sentence, she isn't cooking dinner. Apparently her father is. She isn't cooking dinner. So dinner isn't being cooked by her. Dinner isn't being cooked by her. Third sentence, he is reading an exciting novel. He is reading an exciting novel. We said the exciting novel is being read. The exciting novel is being read by him. Notice read, although it's written the same as in infinitive, but still that's past participle. We know that only by pronunciation. So the exciting novel is being read by him. Exercise 5. So same rubric, rewrite these sentences beginning with the words given. The doctor was examining the patients. The doctor was examining the patients. The patients, right? Number 2, they weren't listening to music. So passive, music. So bear it in mind here, listen to, listening to, listening to, okay? Take it for a phrasal verb, if you like. Number 3, they were serving good coffee in that party. They were serving good coffee in the party. Passive, good coffee, right? Now let's take one by one. Correction. The doctor is examining the patients. The answer is the patients were being examined by the doctor, of course. All right? The patients were being examined. Number 2, they weren't listening to music. They weren't listening to music. Passive form is music wasn't being listened to. Music wasn't being listened to. Third example, they were serving good coffee in the party. They were serving good coffee in the party. So we said good coffee, what? Past progressive. Good coffee was being served in the party. Exercise 6. Rewrite these sentences beginning with the words given. You have studied the passive voice. The passive voice. He has spent a lot of money on his car. A lot of money. Third sentence, scientists have haven't explored the universe yet. The universe. Okay? So this is present perfect. Correction. Students have studied the passive voice. The passive voice form is the passive voice has been studied by the students. The passive voice has been studied by the students. Number 2, he has spent a lot of money on his car. Look, it's an extravagant car. So it's passive voice, a lot of money has been spent on his car. A lot of money has been spent on his car. Third sentence, scientists haven't explored the whole universe yet, or the universe. Passive form, the universe hasn't been explored. Exercise 7, rewrite these sentences as indicated. We will finish the lesson in a few minutes. The lesson. Number 2, I'll explain models later. Models. And third, environmentalists will not save nature in a single day, in one day. The nature. Okay? Now let's correct. Number 1, we will finish the lesson in a few minutes. The lesson will be finished in a few minutes. Number 2, I'll explain models later. So, models will be explained later. Third example, environmentalists will not save nature in a day. Okay, passive, nature, the nature will not be saved in a day. Sentences containing models such as should, would, must, could, might are systematically dealt with in the same way. Let's take an example. Murad must have done the homework, So the homework must have been done. He would tell nobody about the secret. Passive, nobody would be told about the secret. Third, youngsters should respect the elderly. Passive, the elderly should be respected. Special cases, impersonal passive. This impersonal passive, note the passive structure impersonal passive is only possible with verbs of perception. For example, believe, say, think, know. Let's see a few examples. Researchers say that all children are born with equal intelligence. It's common to say, well, impersonally, it is said that all children are born with equal intelligence, although this is possible and this is good, but it's more common in English to say all children are said to be born with equal intelligence. Likewise, they believe that women live longer than men. Well, a passive, it's believed, this is impersonal passive, it's believed that women live longer than men, or women are believed to live longer than men. One more example, the Maya, the American culture or civilization, the Maya think that the world will end in 2012, which I hope will not end in that day. It's not passive, it's thought that the world will end in 2012, or we can say more commonly the world is thought in 2012. Maybe one last example, we know that the earth turns around itself. Impersonal passive, it's known that the earth turns around itself. Bear it in mind that there is no change in the conjugation of the verb when we use impersonal passive. Or we can say more commonly, the earth is known to turn around itself. Here we have come to the end of this lesson for today. Thank you very much for following me. Here's Slimane greeting you again. Bye-bye.